you've been hearing a lot of furore, political and beyond, over this 18% GST on life and health insurance. There have been protests in the parliament as well. And if you are an existing subscriber or one looking at buying a policy, this may be of interest to you. Look at this. According to a survey by local circles, for 52% of health insurance policy owners in India, the premium has increased by over 25% in the last 12 months. This survey has spanned across 324 districts in India and, in fact, is likely to be a big deterrent for at least some looking at long-term health coverage. According to Niti Aayog, around 70% of the population is estimated to be covered by either a public health insurance or voluntary private health insurance. The remaining 30% of the population, which is over 40 crore individuals, are devoid of health insurance, any health insurance, which means if something happens to you and you are not covered by insurance, you are going to foot the bill, often by selling your assets. And if you are paying for your insurance in the absence of any social security for an average tax-paying citizen in India like you and me, you are over and above that paying almost 1/5 of it as tax to the government. And do you know what? If you don't have insurance, your out-of-pocket expenditure on medical requirements in India is a whopping 49.8% per individual. Compared to China with 34.4%, Russia around 28%, Brazil 23%. Across the world, the average out-of-pocket expenditure for an individual for medical requirements, when you compare to the entire health expenditure, is across the world just an average of 17%. In South Africa, it's way below at 5.5%, whereas India highest at 49.8%, almost 50%. And this is if you are not covered under insurance, of course. And do you know which other sectors are paying a whopping 18% GST in India? Eating out at restaurants, entertainment, movie tickets, outdoor catering, and hotel accommodations. These are just some of the other spendings that are being taxed at 18% GST, same as what you are spending on health and life insurance. It's in this context that Union Minister Nitin Gadkari, pushed by insurance unions, wrote to Nirmala Sitharaman last month saying 18% GST is too high. It amounts to levying tax on the uncertainties of life. Protecting one's family should not be taxed. Opposition has called the 18% GST on health and life insurance as tax terrorism. Mamata Banerjee has called this anti-people. Rahul Gandhi has claimed that the insurance should be made GST-free and 18% GST. Okay, here's an interesting bit. While all of these demands are coming up, 18% GST was introduced in 2017-2018. But prior to that, during the Congress regime, 12.36% service tax was levied. So it's not like it was free under the Congress regime either. You had a service tax of 12.36%. After BJP came into power in 2015, the Finance Minister Arun Jaitley raised the service tax to 14%. Let's try and understand what all this really comes down to. I'm opening up this to our panelists at this point. I'm being joined by Salman Soz, who's a Congress spokesperson, Subhash Chandra Garg, who's the former Finance Secretary of India, Manish Bariyar, who's a political analyst, as well as Vijay Sardana, who's a senior economist. Thank you very much, all of you, for joining us. It is a complicated topic, but it is a topic which directly impacts ordinary citizens. They demand transparency, they require transparency and, of course, accountability. Let me just start with you at this point, Mr. Salman Soz. While the Congress is making a huge hue and cry about this, the opposition is calling this tax terrorism and demanding that it should be tax-free. It wasn't really the case even before the GST, but why the GST of 18%, according to you, is a strong word like tax terrorism?
I think we have to understand the context of the government's finances today versus what they were 10, 15, 20 years back. The structure of the government's revenues has basically changed. It's kind of turned on its head. Earlier, direct taxes were a bigger share of indirect taxes because indirect taxes like GST, they're regressive in nature because they impact low income and middle income families disproportionately. But now what has happened is that indirect taxation is becoming a bigger part of our tax structure. And not only that, the direct tax structure has actually fundamentally changed, with income taxes now being the biggest share compared to, say, corporation taxes. Corporation taxes are now lower than income taxes. So if you think of a middle-class family in India, if you're a salaried person in India, you're paying income taxes, you're paying GST. And by the way, GST, 65% of GST is paid by the bottom half of the country, which is extremely regressive. So that's the broad context for our discussion and for this particular issue. And then, of course, when you're trying to see, if people do not have access to good healthcare to begin with from the government, then they try to insure themselves, or say they want life insurance. If you're going to tax that too, and at such high rates, then what are people supposed to do? I think that is what we're trying to raise the voice of the public, so that the government takes heed. The Congress Party, by the way, has for some just 10 seconds. The Congress Party has been saying for a long time, since GST was instituted, that it is too complicated. It has too many slabs. We should have fewer slabs, possibly one, maximum two. Have an essential list, which is basically free of taxes. And then that might be better for the country. It would be easier to administer as well. But I think the government has other ideas.
Okay, before I go to my experts, a very quick political response again. Manish Bariyar, I mean, look at what we're talking about. Does it seem ironical or does it not that you are paying, that this entire health and life insurance is being bracketed with segments like entertainment, movie tickets, and we've brought just some items out, but just, it doesn't sound bizarre?
Yeah, good evening to you and my co-panelist and all the viewers. So, at the outset, I would like to see that, say that we should welcome today. In fact, government has rolled back that indexation benefit, which was withdrawn for the property. And I think that, I somehow, in your introduction, you missed it. That was, very sore point in this budget. And this shows that this government is, takes the feedback of the common person, of the middle class, very, very seriously. And within 15, 20 days, you see that that benefit has been rolled back. And I think one should strongly welcome that step, that government listens to people's concern. Having said that, I would not agree with what Mr. Salman Soz was really, the points he was making. If you look at, the GST, so at the outset, I must say that this GST on health insurance is something which I do not agree with. And I echo the sentiments of middle class and lower middle class, as well as poor people. That and if you look at worldwide phenomena also, in Europe, in US, in Singapore, Hong Kong, all these places, GST on health insurance is not there. On insurance also, it's not there. One more point I would like to add here is that on endowment policies, on insurance, on life insurance, GST is much lower. It is 4.5%. So, but yes, other premiums on life insurance, it is there. Let's you take up one-time premium. Then it is 2.5%. But if you take up, some other policies, it is 18%. So there is a slab there also, and large number of people in our country, especially LIC, if you see, most of the people take up endowment policies, and there it is 4.5%. Okay. Another point I would like to make is something which is very crucial, Sneha.
30 seconds, sir.
If you look at GST collections and even on health insurance and insurance, 9% of the money, it goes to the states. And the reality is that many of the Congress, state governments, when the GST Council meet comes up, I'm sure, you would be and the viewers would be aware that it is the states say. The states have to say that, yes, these changes have to be made. And there, the Congress government has not taken the steps which the leader of opposition is advocating. In fact, I welcome his, concern and Mr. Gadkari's concern also. But what he's talking, his state governments are not walking the talk. So this is a matter of concern. And I think if that happens, I'm sure something positive will come out of it.
Okay, Mr. Manish Barrier, I'll go to the Congress in a bit to get a response to that as well. But let me just very quickly come across to Mr. Subhash Chandra Garg at this time, who was also the former Finance Secretary of India. Thank you very much for joining us. A very quick question. What does one make out when you talk about the premiums increasing by almost 25% in 12 months for almost 52% subscribers of insurance, of health insurance for that matter? This is a survey that has been brought out. The results have come out just today. If you're looking at this, even some of the insurance experts that I was speaking to earlier, and this is beyond what the political furor has been, have called this literally heartless. How would you look at this, Mr. Subhash Chandra Garg?
See, the premium is made up of three essential elements. One is the cost to the pool of the insurance, where the contributors pay for the benefits which are paid to the life insurers on death or otherwise, or for the health, for the event happening, etc. So the cost of the pool is the first element. If the insurance payments go up, the premiums will also go up. The second element is the profits of the insurance companies. They run their business, they make profits. That is the second element. The third element is the tax, which the government charges. So when you say that the premiums have gone up by 25%, that is not because the tax has gone up. It's because of the other two elements which have gone up, primarily the element number one, where the payments might have gone or the insurance companies are making more profit. So it's incorrect to attribute it entirely to the tax part. Suppose you, for a minute, take out the 18% element.
No, I'm very clear. I have not attributed this to the taxes alone. But sir, you would not disagree that taxes do play a role in this. Under no circumstances have I said it's taxes alone.
No. I'm precisely telling you that 25% cost going up and the GST is 18%. So it's not, and the GST rate has not gone up. So if the basic costs of the insurance have gone up, then 18% of that might have been contributed by the GST as well. But 25%, the bulk of it is coming from the other two elements. That's the point I was making. Right. See, the issue we need to understand.
So essentially, are you saying you're okay with 18% tax of GST?
No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that there is a history which you recounted in your initial commentary, that the GST has been 15% or so before, or the service tax before the GST came in, it became 18%. That was the change. In India, the insurance is a very low preferred kind of service. We are one of the least insured societies. And therefore, the insurance costs are higher relatively, because when you have a smaller number of contributing people, the costs go up. Medical side of it, so medical treatment services have much smaller GST rates. In the circumstances, to promote insurance and also to compare it with the other medical services and all, 18% is certainly a very high rate. It requires a revision, but that's not happening all of a sudden. It has not happened yesterday. It has not happened because something has been done in the budget. It's an issue which is six years old.
Right. Right. True. I take your point, and of course have to go to Congress on that. But Vijay Sardana, do you want to respond very quickly to where India stands? You know, you just heard the panelist, Mr. Subhash Chandra Garg, talk about how India's preference for insurance is very low. Does India have an option? Does much of India really have an option? You know, I mean, it's wise to take insurance, but for those who are not, I'm not saying all of them are not taking insurance because they don't have the money, but does much of India have the option?
See, we have to appreciate two things here. Taxes has two options, two ways to look at it. Taxes can be incentive to encourage certain habits, and taxes can also be used to discourage certain habits. Now, one side, when we are saying that insurance is a very rare incidence in India, people don't insure themselves, and then you make the premium more expensive, it is a counterproductive effort. At the same time, within insurance, there are a lot of hybrid products which companies launch to maximize their profit. My only concern is that whoever decided the GST or taxation policy for insurance premiums have not applied the brain. I feel all the basic insurance policies like basic term policy, basic health insurance policy, and basic third-party policies should be exempted or least level of GST so that more and more people can go for insurance coverage. It is essential. On the other hand, where insurance companies are doing a lot of creativity to maximize their profit, like they are talking of ULIP, they are creating a whole lot of other embedded overheads to make more money, those policies are actually not required. And they are basically, companies are pushing more ULIP than term plans. Those can be taxed, and in fact, companies, those who are making excessive profit from the insurance activity, you can increase the corporate tax at that level. Because ultimately, insurance you have to look as a service, because pool is separate, premium is given there, then you have administrative cost, all should be compared, it is good. But when you are trying to use insurance for profiteering, that activity should be discouraged and taxed. So my way of looking at it is that in insurance activities, basic plans like term plan, health plan, and third party should be exempted. Anything which is linked to unit plan or market link, that a premium can be taxed. And this differentiation should be educated to the consumer that you can have insurance cover at low cost, but somebody who is ignorant and doesn't want to understand, then jolly well, tax will tell them why they are paying high taxes or why they are paying high premium includes taxes. Maybe that will educate people better. So I think this needs a more tweaking, and basic plans should be exempted.
Okay, Manish Bariyar, if I can come to you. Firstly, let me just very clearly say I did not forget not to mention indexation during my introduction. It was very purposeful. We will speak about indexation when we speak about indexation. I will not shy away from that. We have done shows on that, and we will report and give the details of all the exemptions that have been made. So I have no doubts about that. The show today is not about indexation, and therefore I did not speak about it. But Mr. Manish Bariyar, very quickly I want to ask you, and I just want to give you a situation. I was talking to somebody who works for me, works for us, and in that particular case, this particular gentleman does not have a life insurance. And we started having a conversation, and this person is not from a very high income bracket. And this person, we started having a conversation with this person, and we started explaining that long term, if you invest in a life insurance, it will actually be beneficial for you. A month on, this person goes and subscribes to a health insurance. And trust you me, he's more than ever thankful for being able to make that decision, because there was an unforeseen and a very tragic disaster in their family that thankfully was covered with the insurance. Why am I giving you this example? I want to ask you a very simple question, Manish Bariyar. One, as our panelist said, we are not a country that's very friendly with insurance. Not many people subscribe to it. 2, is the tax system encouraging that? 3, are you really saying that insurance is not a necessity? It's a luxury. 18% is largely for luxury goods. It's not for essentials. What's the messaging? To the Congress, I will ask why now, but to Mr. Manish Bariyar, this question is to you.
Sneha ji, I think you forgot. I said that I'm in favor of actually removing this entire GST of 18% on life insurance as well as on health insurance. That's one. But let's take up your first question first. When you talked about someone who is a low-paid employee, we have Ayushman Bharat. So for 5 lakhs, she doesn't have to pay anything. I don't know why did you really ask her to reinsure herself, right? If she requires more insurance,
no, that person does not. That person does not come under Ayushman Bharat. That person does not come under Ayushman Bharat. And quite frankly, even as our income tax says, anybody over 15 lakhs is the highest paying taxpayers of India, are among the richest. Look, that also doesn't work. We have a difference in opinions on that as well. Nonetheless, this person is not under the 5 lakhs trajectory. I'm very well aware of that.
If somebody is not under 5, I don't know. I'm sure you would know the criteria for 5 lakh Ayushman Bharat, right? That is one. Second, I also made a point that as far as endowment policy is concerned, in life insurance especially, right now the GST is 4.5%. That's about life insurance. And third, I'm with you, as far as GST on health insurance is concerned, I gave you data about how the developed nations themselves, they have a very comprehensive policy and they actually have a VAT, there it is called VAT exempt. So I'm in favor of that. So there is no differences as far as that. And I'm one of the few persons also.
Why do you think the government is not moving in that direction?
No, see, there is a legacy behind, as the previous gentleman talked about it. Under Congress government, this was, and when there is a precedent, it's not so easy to really do that. It's a political challenge, and I think the opposition will have to cooperate in that, right? You should question the opposition also, because on many of the important policy issues, the public discourse is very different from what they do it privately when they sit in meetings, because they need money. So these are the challenges which are there as far as it. But when it comes to this GST on health insurance, I think there is almost a unanimity that it should go, or at least it should come down to 5% around. That's something which I would really want to say on this.
That's heartening to listen to, quite frankly, Mr. Manish Bariyar. And we will question the ruling dispensation, and we will also question the opposition. That's for certain. Salman, so is my next question to you. You heard every panelist here speak about it. That this issue has been on for almost 6 years. Nothing has changed. Why is this entire conundrum now? Why this entire uproar now? Yes, insurance unions, people in this field are saying this is absolutely heartless, but this has been going on for 6 years. What's changed for the opposition to now go back, hammer and tongs on this?
No, like I said, I think.
And on what basis?
No, I'm just saying that I said it earlier. Things have gotten, very difficult for low-income and middle-income families in India. I think everybody can see, and the results of the elections in some ways have communicated to all of us that people are struggling and they need help. Now, there's a tax on wheelchairs. There's a tax on braille. So if you're visually impaired, you have a tax. Your equipment is taxed. You have a scientist complaining about laboratories being taxed at 18%. You have private, you have school laboratories when they get material, that's taxed at 18%. I mean, this is, how do you educate more people? How do you help more people with better health? How do you increase coverage of insurance products so that overall insurance costs come down? I think the government has to, these are policy choices you have to make. So I think that what the government has decided, what the BJP government has decided, is that they will basically squeeze the life out of the middle classes, squeeze the life out of the low-income families, and basically they put their eggs in the basket of big corporates, where they got a big tax cut, which has now reduced corporate tax, intake now below the level of income taxes. That is unacceptable. I think it should be unacceptable to everybody. Why are we accepting something like corporations paying lower taxes than those in the salaried classes. I think we need to change that, and I think the government has perhaps not learned its
Okay.
lesson from the last election. I think time will come that they may have to say bye bye
Okay.
to Delhi much before 2029.
Okay, I'll go across to other panelists for that, but very quickly, there are these questions being asked. Why aren't the opposition ruled states, or why isn't the Congress ruled states? Why aren't they raising this?
Yes.
Why aren't they reducing these tax? We asked these questions to T.S. Singh Deo as well, who's the former Chhattisgarh Deputy Chief Minister. Let's just very quickly listen in. I did this interview a bit earlier. Let's just quickly listen in, and I'll return to our panelists. Good evening, sir. Thank you for joining us. First question, sir. What's the demand really at this point?
If you would recall, even in the manifesto, the Congress party had put forward the agenda that if it comes to power in the center, it would rationalize the GST rates. At the moment, there are 8 slabs, starting from 0 to 28. There are 8 slabs in the GST regime, and this needs rationalization. So where most countries in the world have either 1 slab or 2 slabs, at most 3 slabs, we have been continuing with this 8 slab regime.
No, but sir, what's changed? Why this entire furore over GST suddenly, sir? I mean, it's not like there were no taxes earlier under the Congress regime for that matter.
What is the goal of universal healthcare? To provide quality healthcare with the minimal out-of-pocket expenditure. So it is not only providing healthcare, it is providing healthcare with minimal out-of-pocket expenditure. So if you are charging GST from the consumer, you're taking money out of their pocket. It will not be meeting the goal of universal healthcare. And while you're charging GST, you also say we'll have schemes like Ayushman or insurance schemes which will reimburse. So on the one hand, you're taking money from the consumer, and on the other hand, you're saying we'll subsidize healthcare. So it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to do both the things at the same time.
But during your time and subsequently, has this concern been raised at the GST level, at the GST meetings with the finance minister?
Yes, it has been raised, and we had all suggested that GST on healthcare, whether it is drugs or whether it is equipment or otherwise, should be pulled down. There was a time when the GST collection was being reviewed. We were not crossing, let us say, 1 lakh crores monthly. We were not crossing 1 lakh crores. Then we crossed 1 lakh crore, then we crossed 1 lakh 20,000 crores, then we crossed 1 lakh 50,000 crore. Today you crossed 2 lakh crores. The GST collection is crossing the limit of 2 lakh crores. So time is coming where if resources are also being mobilized for the government, you need to take a call on how much burden you want to put on the citizen.
Right.
The whole goal of universal healthcare is to reduce out-of-pocket expenditure. So you're doing taxation, you're taking more money from the consumer. The poorer consumer who will be paying the same GST on that as it is, they are not in a position to pay. They go into the poverty web.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Deo, for joining us. Thank you so much. Let me just go across. All right. Let me just go across to Subhash Chandra Garg. Do you want to very quickly respond? I know, Manish Varia, you have your hands up for that, but Subhash Chandra Garg, do you want to very quickly respond to what he's saying? Is it time now that India really needs to look at how much of the burden of the taxation is really on the people who are trying for their ends to meet?
See, this is not that straightforward and simple. We have the primary health services provided at the government cost to almost everyone. The Ayushman Bharat provides to 10 crore families, about 50 crore people, basic insurance cost up to 5 lakh rupees. It is the middle class and the upper middle class, which is actually taking the insurance benefits. That's another maybe, let's say, about 50 crore people. It's understandable. They also should be reasonably treated. And that is why in the first segment I said the justification for 18% GST on insurance premium for health and life doesn't really exist. It should be treated more close to the way we treat our medical expenses and all. There is a gradation for medicines. There is a gradation for essential goods. There is about 5% and then goes up to 12%. There is no 18% tax there. By the way, there is enormous amount of confusion that the endowment policy has 4.5%, single premium has the 1.8% and things like that. These products are combined products. There is an insurance premium product, there is an investment product. Investment product is not taxed, and therefore the law attributes a certain kind of percentage to the premium. For ULIP, 25% is the premium.
Okay.
And therefore 18% and 25% is 4.5%. So there is a uniform taxation literally of what is considered as a premium at 18%. And that is high. And that should be made reasonable according to a well-reasoned out formula, not out of any emotions. You just can't throw. It's also not correct to say that the GST is rising. For last couple of months, the GST growth is only about 10%. It has come down to very normal rates. If you argue on one side that you should have a single or two or three rates, at the same time you can't ask for everything to be brought down to the lowest possible rates. So a very conscious, well thought out decision has to be taken, and a reasonable premium GST should be levied.
Okay, no, I concede to what you're saying. I agree to what you're saying. It is a complicated issue. It's not a straitjacket solution to this. But Vijay Sardana, irrespective of the political divide on this panel, it's interesting to see almost everybody believes in one thing, that 18% GST on life and health insurance should be done away with, irrespective of the political divide. And that's interesting because we do have a political divide on this panel. But what would it then take for the government to really step back and take note of this and take a corrective? Because irrespective of politics, if that's the opinion, it's hard to believe that the government would not think the same too.
See, in India, the total premium collection is about 3 lakh crore every year. When you are talking about 18%, it is like 50,000 crore additional in government's kitty. So you are asking government to compromise on 50,000 crore, which is 18% of 3 lakh crore. Now, issue is that what government has to do? Will they give up 50,000 crore? It's difficult. Second issue is that will government of India, if they are collecting all the premium on insurance, health and life, will they invest additional 50,000 crore every year on better healthcare system in India? Are they planning to do this? Or they are just going to invest somewhere else for political freebies? So what is important today, why people are apprehensive in paying premium on insurance? Because first of all, the insurance companies are very bad in claim settlement. They make your life hell if they and their agent. It's really, really difficult to settle them. Consumer courts are flooded with problems with insurance companies. Government has no redressal mechanism. Third, healthcare services are overloaded, overflooded. Government offices are malfunctioning. Ultimately, you land up in private sector. So overall review is required. Consumers don't mind paying 50,000 extra, provided they get service from the companies and service from the hospitals. Both are very deficient in this. So besides cost, the hardship also, and then you pay premium and tax on it. I think this is too much crime against citizens in this country.
Okay, Manish Bariyari, parting shot to you. Do you want to make your last comments?
Yeah, are you asking me, Sneha ji?
Yes, yes, please.
Have you asked for me? Because I could not hear you.
Yes, Mr. Manish Barrier, go ahead. Please go ahead. The parting shot is from you.
See, what I was trying to say that, I don't like this hypocrisy when it comes to Congress party. On one hand, if you look at most of these taxes, it has been started by Congress party. They are the ones who really started VAT and on all these products. That's one. So my submission and my, request to Congress party would be, if you really want this badly to happen, then the first thing which you have to talk about is that tax agriculturists also. This will not happen. See, what they have done very intelligently. On one hand, politically, they are not taxing the farmers, and that's a very contentious issue, but still, we have some very rich farmers. And on the other hand,
okay, I'm
because
totally out of time. I get
your
sense. Salman Sos, 30 seconds to you to respond to Manish Barrier. 30 seconds, I don't have more time.
Manish ji seems to be a BJP spokesperson more than a political analyst, but be that as it may, if the BJP is interested in taxing agriculture, which, by the way, is already in the doldrums, then they're welcome to do that. I think they'll find a lot of support for that, and they should definitely do it. I recommend it to the BJP.
My point is that
they should do it as soon. And no, please don't interrupt me. I think that's a great suggestion. You should send it to Nirmala Sitharaman, and maybe she'll implement it, and then we'll see what happens. I wish you all the best.
That's exactly what I wanted.
Okay, all right.
To come
fine.
out.
Salman Sos. Okay. Salman Sos, Subhash Chandra Garg, Manish Barrier, as well as Vijay Sardana, thank you very much for joining us. It's definitely a complicated issue, but this is definitely something that matters a lot to the people, and hopefully the government of India is also going to be listening to this show and to the voices of India as well. Thank you very much for joining us on the show.